What I'm about to show you is like a super cute clip of someone like acting out research findings. And I love that they're doing this because I think this is actually like a really fun, engaging way to present research. But it's also, in my opinion, missing like two really key things that you have to present when you present research.
Babe, my study was published in the American Psychological Association Journal of Personality and Social Psychology. Oh, Kate, that's great news. Fantastic, amazing, so great for you, wifey. What was it about? It was about how men feel worse about themselves when female partners succeed. That's fascinating. I never would have guessed that in a million empirical studies. I imagine that women's self-esteem also takes a hit. No, actually, not at all. You would assume that a man might feel threatened if his girlfriend outperformed him in something that they're doing together, like publishing research, like losing weight. Yeah, but we found evidence that men automatically interpret a partner's success as their own failure, even when they're not in direct competition. Well, I mean, can you really tell that off of one study? 896 people across 5 experiments. Yeah, well, if you're studying Americans, that makes sense, given the cultural and gender bias. Those studies were done in the Netherlands. Oh, yeah.
This is a real publication. This is a real article that has been published. It was not recently published. It was published in 2013. Would I have preferred a recreation to be like, the year is 2013? Yes, I would, because I actually think things like how long ago something was published matters, but okay. This article is about 5 different experiments, which is what they say. And also, like they say, the key takeaway here is that men's implicit self-esteem is lower when a partner succeeds than when their partner fails, and for women, it's not. So if it's like, okay, Kirsten, like overall, like, yeah, it was in 2013 and it kind of is being presented as if it was recent, not a big deal. It's basically like the overall findings, like, they track. Let's talk about the sample situation though, right? So the sample, the people who are in these experiments. Experiment 1, 32 undergraduate heterosexual dating couples at the University of Virginia. Experiment 2, 122 undergraduate students from Tilburg University, also in a heterosexual dating relationship. But in this case, the sample wasn't like the actual couples. They talked to 99 women and 23 men, and they were in relationships, but not necessarily with other people in the study. Experiment 3, 53 undergraduate male students from Tilburg University. So experiments 1 through 3, all undergraduate students. Now, the people in experiment number 4 came from a website. There were 236 women and 93 men. The average age was 28.4, and notably, in my opinion, 73.3% were white. Final experiment, experiment number 5, people also came from the same website. It was 137 women and 191 men. The average age was 30.7, and notably again, in my opinion, 78% were white. What I think is interesting when you go and you're reading the general discussion about the study and the findings, they say that this is what we found in like American college students. We were able to replicate it in the Netherlands, also with college students. But then also we found the same thing with a larger, older, and more diverse sample. So that was like the people who came from the website in experiment 4 and 5. I think it's interesting because 2 samples that are both greater than 70% white are being described as more diverse. Which, I don't know for sure, they don't report the demographics of the college students, but that makes me think, so experiments 1 through 3 was all white college students, mostly white college students, and then experiments 4 and 5, people who are older, right, still late 20s, early 30s, but strong majority white. I think the fact that 3 out of the 5 studies were done with undergraduates that are purportedly less diverse than the greater than 70% white people who participated in the last 2 experiments, I think that's important context for interpreting these results. Again, it's not saying good or bad. It's just saying if you're going to talk about it and be no, but this was actually done in 2 countries and with a bunch of people. Okay, but I think age is probably pretty relevant for a relationship study, right? And I don't know if race would be relevant in this case, but I know it's something that I would want to look into further. And just again, name as important context. The person does mention the fact that this is all about heterosexual couples in the video, which that's important context too. I'm just can you imagine the results if it was white undergraduate men have lower self-esteem when their partner succeeds? Should we be drawing conclusions about all heterosexual men in relationships from these experiments? Could age or race play an important role in understanding this better? The study authors actually say, hey, it's a limitation that this research was done with relatively young people. They don't mention a lack of diversity in terms of race and ethnicity as a limitation, but I don't know. I mean, it could be because, if I'm guessing, it's because this was published in 2013, and it's just in recent years become more apparent how research isn't diverse, or at least more talked about. I don't think it's news to anyone that there is bias in research. So when you're sharing research results, put the year in there. The year is important, and also describe the sample. It's okay if it was a bunch of undergraduates. You just say it so people know. Bottom line, just share the full context. You gotta describe the sample, and just giving a number of people doesn't count.